members, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum. You can't pass a bill on this floor with proxies and have it upheld unless you change the Constitution, and this doesn't do it. Now, some here say, but if it saves one life, it's worth it. How about the million Americans who laid down their lives, not for a wishy-washy, oh, maybe we should be afraid of, we might get something and die. They didn't do that in the Spanish flu days. They didn't do it in the Civil War, but now we're going to do it? Come on. There were people that died saying things like live free or die. And now we're going to amend the Constitution with a House rule? That's ridiculous. If you're going to destroy 40 million lives and livelihoods, at least have the courage to come here and do it in person. You didn't let the member from Georgia do it years ago. You denied that, and I felt like you were right. We got to preserve the Constitution, not abuse it with a House rule. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Members are reminded any comments should be referred to the chair. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
That'd be right here.
Sir.
Struck. You said earlier in this hearing you were concerned about a hostile foreign power affecting our election. Do you recall the intelligence community Inspector General Chuck McCulloch having an investigation into an anomaly found on Hillary Clinton's emails?
I do not.
Well, let me refresh your recollection. The intelligence community Inspector General Chuck McCulloch sent his investigator, Frank Rucker, along with an ICIG attorney, Jeanette McMillan, to brief you and Dean Chappelle and two other FBI personnel that I won't name at this time about an anomaly they had found on Hillary Clinton's emails that were going to and from the private unauthorized server that you were supposed to be investigating. Now, do you remember it?
I remember meeting Mr. Rucker on either one or two occasions. I do not remember the specific content or discussions.
Well, I'll help you with that too then. Mr. Rucker reported to those of you, the four of you there, in the presence of the ICIG attorney, that they had found this anomaly on Hillary Clinton's emails going through a private server. And when they had done the forensic analysis, they found that her emails, every single one except for four, over 30,000 of them, were going to an address that was not on the distribution list. It was a compartmentalized bit of information that was sending it to an unauthorized source. Do you recall that?
Sir, I don't.
Well, he went on to explain it, and you didn't say anything. No. You thanked him, you shook his hand, but the problem was that it was going to an unauthorized source that was a foreign entity unrelated to Russia. And from what you've said here, you did nothing more than nod and shake the man's hand when you didn't seem to be all that concerned about our national integrity of our election when it was involving Hillary Clinton. So the forensic examination was done by the ICIG, and they can document that, but you were given that information and you did nothing with it. And one of the things I found most egregious with Mr. Horowitz's testimony, and by the way, Horowitz got a call 4 times by someone wanting to brief him, leaving messages telling him about this, and he never returned the call. He had 500 pages of bias that he gave us, and then he threw a bone to the Democrats and said, but we can't find bias. And let me tell you, when you have text messages, Mr. Strzok, the way you do, saying the things you did, you'd been better off coming in here and say, look, that was my bias. And you kind of get around to that a little bit when you say, hey, you know, everybody's got political views. Those are called biases, and we all have them. And you have come in here and said, I had no bias. And you do it with a straight face. And I watched you in the private testimony you gave. And I told some of the other guys, he is really good. He's lying. He knows, we know he's lying. And he could probably pass a polygraph. It's amazing.
Mr. Chairman.
No, this is my
Mr.
time.
Chairman, I'm sorry.
And it needs to be paused.
This point of order.
No,
The gentleman will state his point of order.
A member of this committee just asserted that this witness, who is under oath and a former agent of the FBI, lied. There is no evidence that. I ask him to withdraw it.
I do not withdraw it. He is not a member of Congress. It's not a violation of the rule. And just as you have been expressing bias through your members about what a hero
There is not a single person on this committee who has ever characterized a witness
Gentleman
as
from
lying.
Rhode Island,
Sitting here
gentleman-
before
It's my
this committee.
time.
That's a disgrace.
Gentleman from Rhode Island will
praise
suspend.
him. No, the disgrace
Mr.
is what this man has done.
The
to
gentleman
our
from
justice
Texas will
system.
suspend for a moment.
There is the disgrace. And it won't be recaptured anytime soon because of the damage you've done to the justice system. And I've talked to FBI agents around the country. You've embarrassed them. You've embarrassed yourself. And I can't help but wonder when I see you looking there with a little smirk, how many times did you look so innocent into your wife's eye and lie to her about Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, this is outrageous.
The credibility of a witness
Shame
is
on
always
you,
an
Mr.
issue.
Mr.
and you
Chairman, please,
have not-
you know, Chairman, this is intolerable harassment of the
what is
witness.
wrong with that? You need your medication.
The gentleman controls the time.
I ask that the witness be permitted to respond
Well,
to
he
that
will be
despicable
He
assertion.
will be
Did
permitted to
you ever
respond. The
talk
gentleman
to
controls
Hillary
the time.
Clinton during your investigation, besides the one questioning you mentioned, before that or after that to this day?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman will state his point of order.
Recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And let me just read from the Constitution. Thank you very much. Article 1, Section 5. Each House shall be the judge of the election, returns and qualifications of its own members, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum. You can't pass a bill on this floor with proxies and have it upheld unless you change the Constitution, and this doesn't do it. Now, some here say, but if it saves one life, it's worth it. How about the million Americans who laid down their lives, not for a wishy-washy, oh, maybe we should be